Did you see the video when the Mueller report came out? They looked like somebody got killed.
Oh my God!
It was crazy.
It was the day that Kennedy got shot. Yeah,
Shouldn't you be happy if you guys believed in Mueller? Everybody was like, Mueller is the fucking man. He's gonna go get Trump. This guy is methodical. He's precise.
People
He's
were buying votive candles.
Everything.
Votive candles with his face on them that they could like burn.
They were pumped.
Yeah, and then he came out and it was like, well, no collusion. Everybody's like, well, I guess that now it's a cover up.
Like what? Wait a minute.
Yeah, maybe the narrative has trumped the actual job you were supposed to do, guys.
Well, it's just so many people were so convinced, and there were so many people that were making statements that, in retrospect, are probably like you could probably. I mean, I don't want to say I'm not a litigious person, but if I was a guy like Donald Trump,
oh man, yeah,
there's so many people to sue.
It was amazing. I mean, I remember I was on Bill Maher's show, and we were supposed to talk about free speech stuff, and like 5 minutes before, and he's like, let's talk about Russia. His producer came in, let's talk about Russia. And I was like, okay, fine. So we get on.
The producer said that?
Yeah, this is like right before they switched the topic.
How goofy are TV shows where they just tell you what you have to talk about?
I don't know.
Some guy comes in with a clipboard.
Yeah, it was a little bit strange. And we got on stage, and he's talking about Trump-Russia collusion. And I said what I've always said, which is I'll wait for the evidence to come out, and then I will make a decision as to whether Trump-Russia collusion was a thing. And Bill Maher's like,
radical.
I know. And Bill Maher goes, you don't believe it was a thing? And I was like, well, I don't see any evidence yet that it was a thing. Like, I see some evidence of attempts to collude, like Don Jr. I see some attempts of people trying to get information. But I don't see evidence of, like, actual legal collusion. And why don't we just wait? Like, you guys keep wanting Mueller to give us, like, let's just wait on it. And Maher could not believe that this was my perspective, right? It was like shocking to him. Why should the perspective, I'm waiting for more evidence, be shocking to anyone when it is obvious the evidence is not out? Like, why is that in any way controversial? It's bewildering to me.
Well, it's because people have this need to let everyone know that they're on the right side. And they want you to know that they do believe in the collusion. And if you disagree with that, for whatever reason, you must either be a right-wing person, a Trump supporter, someone who's in denial, someone who doesn't look at the evidence, and you're a part of the problem.
Yep.
But the real problem was jumping to conclusions. There obviously seemed to be some attempts. There's obviously some fuckery with that IRA company, that the Internet Research Agency that is responsible for millions of interactions with people online where they pretended to be different supporters.
The trolls and all this, yeah.
They caused conflict, like constant conflict in regards to political opinion, and that's all real. That was a coordinated effort to try to change people's opinions. But how much of that had to do with Donald Trump? How much did he ask for?
First of all,
you got no evidence.
Also, I was always bewildered by this theory. Like, did you watch that campaign? That was not the most well-coordinated campaign.
It was chaos.
It was chaos. I mean, I knew everybody who was in the campaign. Like, it was a shit show. Yeah. And the idea that they're sitting there, but when the mask comes off at night, they call up Vladimir Putin, and they put together a point-by-point plan on how they're going to swing this particular precinct in rural Michigan. It's like, what are you? Are you guys high? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Like, if you could attribute this to anything, here's a good rule of thumb for politics. Attribute everything to stupidity unless you can prove malice.
The real problem, and this is something that is very similar to what we were talking about earlier, when you say something and you say it over and over and over again, and you say it with such conviction, and it becomes a giant part of your news narrative, and then that something turns out to be horseshit.
Yep.
You just massively empowered Trump.
That's exactly right. I mean, I've said for a long time that, I'm not a big fan of Trump's fake news shtick because I think he applies it too broadly. I think that whenever there's a bad piece of news, he's like, fake news. And it's like, well, sometimes yes, and sometimes no. But now that you just blew a 2-year narrative where he was clearly in Putin's pocket, how many people do you think are going to listen to the nuanced view of fake news now? And how many people do you think are going to actually believe Trump when he says that a bad piece of news is legitimately a fake piece of news?
Yeah, it empowers him in a spectacular manner. They made a giant mistake.
Oh yeah, they blew this one in spectacular fashion.
And people are still hanging in there with it.
All they had to do. This is true for so many people right now. All you have to do is not be crazy. Just stop it.
Dude, who was the guy that was talking about the possibility that Trump has been a Russian asset since like 1987 or some shit? Who the fuck was that?
I mean, Andrew McCabe, the former FBI director, was asked whether Trump was legitimately a Russian asset, and he's like, I don't know. It's like you're using the power of the institution you used to run to spread this nonsense. And you got that from John Brennan. You got it from James Clapper. These are all former heads of the intelligence agencies. It just makes me think the intelligence agencies need to be wildly curbed back if these were the heads of them. I mean, if like the heads of the intelligence agencies are using their platform to proclaim that they have inside information about Trump that turns out to be utter nonsense, I'm not sure these people should have that much power to like check
Is that
my
what he's
phone calls.
saying, or is he saying he doesn't know?
He didn't say, I don't know. He was saying, like, I expect that Mueller is going to indict. As a former intelligence
really?
professional, I expect that, yeah, there's a lot of that. It was ugly. Adam Schiff on the
crazy.
Intel committee doing the same thing.
It's crazy now, because, like, what do they do now? Like, how do they rebound from this? If this is
If they're
something that
smart,
you
they'll
didn't
let it
just
go.
say once, this is something you said for 2 years.
Right.
You've seen the compilation videos.
Oh, yeah, they're
hilarious.
amazing. They're amazing.
They've done them to rap music. And they're like they put a beat behind it. Have you seen it?
No, I
No,
haven't.
there's some great ones. Some great there's compilations of people saying possible collusion, possible collusion, possible.
Yeah.
And then there's music that goes with it, and they just cut to possible collusion with the Russians. Possible Russian collusion.
Yeah.
Possible Russian collusion.
They blew it in a major way.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of shit to complain about. You didn't have to go with that. Like the idea was that he was a traitor.
He's a target-rich environment, and you
Yes.
decided to go to he's a Russian traitor. What like it's No Way Out or something, and he's Kevin Costner at the last scene. Like what in
only
the
way
actual?
he could have ever beaten Hillary